In 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott, a single mother with a 4-year-old son named Sean, had been receiving the threatening calls at her aunt's home in Stanton, California, where she and Sean lived. At times the caller was fawning, professing his love for Scott. Otherwise he was threatening, saying that he was going to harm her in unspeakable ways. In both modes, the caller made it clear that he was watching Scott, recounting details of her day-to-day life, and in one instance telling her to go outside because he had something for her. When she went to her car, she found a single dead rose placed on the windshield. The cause unsettled Scott and her family, but no one was quite sure what to do about them, so they went unreported. On May 28, 1980, Scott dropped her son off with her parents in Anaheim so that she could attend a staff meeting where she worked. During the meeting, she noticed that one of her coworkers, Conrad Bostrom, didn't look well. She offered to take him to the hospital. He took her up on her offer, and Pam Heed, another coworker, accompanied them. On the way, Scott stopped at her parents' house to check up on her son, and while there, switched the black scarf she had been wearing for a red one. At the hospital, it was determined that Bostrom had been bitten by a black widow spider. He was treated while Scott and Heed waited around until he was ready to go home. According to Heed, Scott never left their side during the evening. When Bostrom was released, Scott went out to the hospital parking lot to get her car, while Heed and Bostrom waited to fill a prescription. When Scott didn't return right away, her two co-workers walked out to the parking lot. There, they saw Scott's car speeding away, the headlights blinding them so that they couldn't see who was behind the wheel. Initially, Bostrom and Heed assumed that some emergency had come up involving Scott's son, but when they still hadn't heard from her a few hours later, they reported her missing. At around 4:30 the following morning, Scott's car, a white Toyota station wagon, was found in the alley in Santa Ana, about 10 miles from the hospital. The car had been set ablaze, but no one was inside. It was only about a week later that Scott's mother, Vera, received the first call. "Are you related to Dorothy Scott?" the voice on the phone asked. When Vera said that she was, the caller simply added, "I've got her," and then hung up. It was the first such call that Scott's parents received, but it wouldn't be the last. Though police installed a voice recorder at the residence, they were never able to trace the cause, as the caller never stayed on the line for more than a short time. Shortly after the mysterious calls began, Scott's father approached the Santa Ana Register asking them to run a story about her missing daughter. The story ran on June 12, 1980, and that same day, Pat Riley, the paper's editor, received an anonymous phone call from someone claiming to be Dorothy Scott's killer. "She was my love," the caller said. "I caught her cheating with another man. She denied having someone else. I killed her." The caller provided details that had not been included in the newspaper story, such as the color of Scott's scarf and the fact that her coworker had been treated for a black widow bite that evening. The caller also claimed that Scott had called them that night from the hospital, though Pam Heed insisted that Scott had never left her side that evening. As far as anyone in her life was aware, Dorothy Scott had no serious boyfriend at the time of her death. Still, police believed that the man who called the Santa Ana Register was probably her killer. During all of this time, Scott was still missing. It was nearly 2 months later, on August 6, 1984, that construction workers would discover charred bones near Santa Ana Canyon Road. The bones included human and dog remains side by side. Authorities believed that they had been there for some time now, as a brush fire had swept through the area in 1982 and likely explained that charred condition of the bones. Though no cause of death was able to be established, a ring and watch were both found with the remains, and the bones were identified as Dorothy Scott's. Though the strange phone calls to Scott's family stopped in April of 1984, they resumed after Scott's remains were found in August. In spite of the killer's taunting calls, Scott's murder remains unsolved to this day.